All right, I just want to introduce this poem because you're going to be using this as a model text for a short writing piece that you'll be doing using a very, very similar structure to what Langston Hughes has provided here in this poem entitled Theme for English B. So first off, I'm going to go through and just kind of read the poem out loud to you guys, and then I'm going to go back and explain what I mean by using this as a model text and kind of copying his structure. So, Theme for English B by Langston Hughes. The instructor said, "Go home and write a page tonight, and let that page come out of you. Then it will be true." I wonder if it's that simple. I'm 22, colored, born in Winston-Salem. I went to school there, then Durham, then here to this college on the hill above Harlem. I'm the only colored student in my class. The steps from the hill lead down into Harlem through a park, then I cross St. Nicholas, 8th Avenue, 7th, and I come to the Y, the Harlem branch Y, where I take the elevator up to my room, sit down, and write this page. It's not easy to know what's true for you or me at 22 my age, but I guess I'm what I feel and see and hear, Harlem. I hear you. Hear you, hear me, we two, you, me, talk on this page. I hear New York, too. Me? Who? Well, I like to eat, sleep, drink, and be in love. I like to work, read, learn, and understand life. I like a pipe for a Christmas present or records, Bessie, Bop, or Bach. I guess being colored doesn't make me not like the same things other folks like who are other races. So will my page be colored that I write? Being me, it will not be white, but it will be a part of you, instructor. You are white, yet a part of me as I am a part of you. That's American. Sometimes, perhaps, you don't want to be a part of me, nor do I often want to be a part of you. But we are, that's true. As I learn from you, I guess you learn from me, although you're older and white and somewhat more free. This is my page for English B. So if you didn't guess, throughout the reading and listening to the poetry being recited, obviously Langston Hughes is an African American, and while he didn't write this poem until he was in his 40s, he's writing from the perspective of a young 22-year-old black man living in New York during the time when African Americans, while they were not enslaved, were still very much so trying to make a place and a name for themselves in the United States. And this poem, you may notice, has a pretty interesting structure. The first line gives an instruction, the instructor said, and the first stanza gives us the actual assignment that's to be completed. Write a page tonight and let that page come out of you, and then it will be true. So those are the instructions. That's what is being told to Langston Hughes to do. If you look at the three actual pieces of the poem where he goes on and explains himself, the first stanza says kind of just a little bit of background information about the author. Is it that simple to tell something that's true? Well, he's telling us factual things. He's 22, colored, where he was born, where he lives now, how to get there even. And you'll notice he also includes he's the only colored student in his class. And so these are just pieces of background information, demographic or explanatory explanation of who Langston Hughes is, as far as where he was born, his color, his age. We get into the second stanza, though, and we see a little bit more about what's true for him. And he asks the question again in a little bit different way. It's not easy to know what's true for you or for me. He even admits that at 22, his age, he is both what he feels and also how Harlem has an effect on him. And he's almost admitting the fact that our surroundings can often have a toll on who we are. And he says, you can hear me, Harlem, and I can hear you when we have an influence on each other. And then he goes on to tell us some things that are a little more personal. He tells us that he likes to eat, and he likes to learn, and he likes certain types of records for Christmas presents. And he asks the question, does this make me not like the other people? Am I so different? So is my page going to be colored and not any other variation of person? And so then he goes on and he kind of explains that thought. And he says, being me will not be white, as he's talking to a white instructor. Um, and he says, I'm not white. But because we're all humans, we're all people, it will be a part of the instructor. Yes, the instructor may be white. Yes, I may be a white person reading this poem, or um, any color of person reading this poem, but we're still a part of each other. That's because we're human. We're both American. And he is trying to show the racial charge that can be evident in poetry, but how we can all still be connected despite any differences that we see on the surface. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the assignment now that we've read the poem. So Langston Hughes, like I said, he penned this poem in 1949. So African Americans definitely had their freedom at this point, in the sense that the United States no longer was slavery legal. But there were a lot of things that were still in the midst of being changed in our country. And he wrote this at the age of 47. So like I said, he's writing from the perspective of a 22-year-old. So looking back 25 years to his experiences as a college student at the City College of New York, which is located on the highest hill in Manhattan. And he wrote the poem narrative, so it's about him, and it gives an account of events, of things about him, so it's almost like a story. And we've read the poem, so I'm going to go through and have you, and just give you some pointers for questions 1 through 5, so that you can, as you answer those, have a little background information. And I would like for you to upload your answers to questions 1 through 5 when you finish them by the due date. So if you look at question 1, it says, what are the differences between the first stanza, representing the poet's thoughts to himself as he contemplates the assignment, and the subsequent stanzas, which express how he presents himself to an audience, in this case his instructor? And there are 2 different ways that you can answer this question. You can look at the physical differences. So what's different about the type of character that he's about, how it looks, or you could go and you could do, your answer could reflect more on what's different in the tone that he has in the first stanza verse. Some of the things that Hughes includes in his self-presentation. So 2 is, what are some things that he told us about himself? You could start with age and color. You could go into likes. There's all kinds of things that he tells us about himself, so please list a few of those. And number 3, what does the word true in line 5 mean? Now think about what true actually means. Factual, or not false. But when we think about true, I want you to give me the definition that true means when he uses this in the line. Because he says, and then it will come out of you, and then it will be true. So what does the true mean? Does it just mean that it's factual, or does it have a deeper meaning than that? Number 4, the poem is straightforward and speaks for itself, but it reveals a more subtle and sly speaker the more you reread it, and think about how Hughes has turned the instructor's question on its head. What does he mean when he says, I hear you, hear me, we two, you, me, talk on this page? Who is talking here? So think about, who could he potentially be talking to? Is it one person, a group of people, several different kinds of people? How can Hughes say to his instructor they are part of each other? So what makes them have some sort of connection? And do we as readers have a part of this conversation? I'm going to go ahead and answer for you that I think we do. Anytime someone says you and me, they're opening up the conversation to include the reader. Number 5, in Hughes' poem, the relationship of you and me is charged with race, which I had mentioned in the past explanation during the poem. The speaker in the poem is black, the instructor is white. But think about Hughes' relationship with that unseen audience, readers of the poem. Between you and me, readers of the poem. The reader of Hughes' poem may, of course, be of any race. It's the relationship between poet and reader. Between me and you is always shifting with each new reader. Do you think these shifting relationships between the reader and poet are intentional? And you can answer for me whether you think they're intentional or not. So the portion of the assignment, those 5 questions are going to be due at the end of the day on the 29th of April. But The rest of the assignment is to write your own narrative poem using this format. So the assignment says each of us has a story inside of us, and we can tell that through the use of a narrative poem. Please write your own narrative poem by using your free write and by using Theme for English B as a model. In your poem, you can follow the same wording that Langston Hughes wrote, but fill in your own personal information to create your own narrative poem. You will turn a copy of your poem in to me for your writing portfolios. Whatever your approach, write a page about yourself, let that page come out of you, and then it will be true. So there's actually 2 ways that you can do this poem, and you can see the grading criteria there. It's a narrative poem, and it tells a story, gets you 10 points. If the poem follows the format, gets you 10 points. If the poem has been checked for grammatical and spelling errors, you'll get all 5 points. And if the poem is in on time, again, you'll get all those 5 points. But look at the structure of the poem. You could quite literally rename this poem to Theme for EELA3 by and put your name. Leave this portion. The instructor said, and then go home and write a page tonight and let that page come out of you, and then it will be true. This portion in your page can and should be the same. You'll change the title, you'll change the name to make it by you, you'll leave this the same, and then this you can do one of 2 ways. Your poem could literally be as simple as saying, I am, and for instance, it would be, I am 17, white, born in Kansas City. I went to school first at Oakwood Manor, then Antioch, then to Oak Park, the high school near the Oakwood trees. Then you choose something to put in here. I am the only, and it would be teacher in my class. The steps from my classroom lead down into the parking lot where I turn onto Berry Road, onto 169, through a neighborhood, onto North Oak, and to my home where I sit to grade these poems. And go on from there. Or your poem could look at just the general structure. Tell me about yourself in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines. So in 10 lines, tell me about yourself and where you were born and where you go after school. And I do not need direct instructions to your house. You could give me very vague directions, or you could choose another place. Maybe you like to go to Starbucks after school and get a cup of coffee, or Barnes & Noble to sit down and read. That's fine. Just give me directions to somewhere following this structure. Then here, you're going to ask the question. It's not easy to know what's true for you or me and maybe you're with 17 my age, but I guess I'm what I feel and see and hear, and maybe you're born somewhere else. So you say, California, I hear you. Hear you, hear me, we too. You, me, talk on this page. I hear Kansas City too. Me, who? Well, I like to eat, sleep, drink, and read some books. I like to work, read, learn, and understand life. I like a new perfume for Christmas, or CDs or MP3s. And you name your bands or whatever it is you like. But you're taking this structure and you're creating a narrative poem. If you would like to submit it to me to check over before turning in the final copy, there will be instructions for how to do that in the next page. All right, thank you so much.